Hey y'all, what's going on? It's Hunter Elliott, rangehot.com. I do hope everybody is doing well, and I am finalizing my review of one of my most favorite firearms I reviewed, and a great deal. I've had more fun with this thing than I've even imagined I could have with my britches on. I'm telling you. Take a second here real quick. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out what we're doing. We do a lot of cool stuff. There's a button somewhere in the vicinity on this page of YouTube. Just smash that button. Don't cost you nothing. Subscribe. Stick around. We do a lot of cool stuff. At least I think we do. Can I get a ruling? Do we do cool stuff, Chad, the producer? I'm getting a thumbs up on the ruling, so there you go. So anyway, this is the Rossi R92 Triple Black lever action rifle chambered in .357 Magnum 38 Special. Wonderful sights on this rifle. You have a rear adjustable peep. Then you've got a heightened front blade with a beautiful bright yellow brass bead on it. And believe it or not, that front sight is also drift adjustable. But if you don't like that, or if you want to mount an optic on it, then Rossi includes a little link to Picatinny rail here if you wanted to add a long eye relief scope or a red dot or what have you. Now, some folks may wonder, why is the Picatinny rail not down here? Well, this is a lever gun, and it is top eject. Now, I want you to note that the magazine tube has been checked empty. The chamber is empty, so we know this is safe to talk about, but it's still pointed down range. Now, it being top eject, I posted a short of us shooting this at 100 yards or whatever. We were standing at Barnes's house with iron sights, banging a little 15 by 15 piece of steel at 100 yards. That's a lot of fun. But somebody made a comment somewhere that a top eject, the case kicks out the top. It's very distracting. Okay, I did not find that the case. The case ejecting, no pun intended. And I even mentioned that to some folks. But it comes out so damn fast, and if you're focused on the sights, no, I'm gonna call that busted. The barrel terminates in 1/2 by 28 threads, which is your standard thread pitch for 9mm, 38, what have you. You do have two sling swivel studs here. Sling swivel studs. Say that 8 times fast. The furniture is wooden, and it is painted with a kind of a black textured paint. So it is not checkered or crosshatched or nothing like that, but the paint is textured enough to where you can keep a good purchase on this rifle. Steel receiver and barrel, magazine tube, all that is Cerakote black. The trigger's actually nice. We're verifying this thing is empty. Far better than I expected. It's got just a cat hair of take up. It breaks really clean, about 5 pounds, with enough over travel to get your attention. And I feel like that for any firearm that may be used for hunting, self-defense, home defense, what have you, 5 pounds is about my threshold where I would want it to be. And then coming down here to the rear, you've got kind of a hardened rubber recoil pad. But I don't necessarily think that it's necessary. I need to get another ruling from my producer.
Second.
Is that good? Thumbs up? Okay, so I'm getting a thumbs up so we can use necessary. But, we shot some of the warmer, hot .357 Magnum from Double Tap, and I'll be honest with you, it did surprise me. But for the most part, your standard .357 Magnum, 38 Special for sure, very little to no perceived recoil. The rifle is a lot of fun, and I'm going to talk about that probably more than you want to hear. You've got a larger loop here, and that's if you got big mitts or gloves or what have you. Mr. Sausage Fingers can get his hand in there okay. And then the bottom of the lever is wrapped nicely in leather, and that's going to give you a little bit of cushion against your fingers. Capacity is 8+1. Now there was something that I did not care for. The safety. It's here on the bolt, and it's kind of it's weird. It worked fine. It's just not what I'm used to, so it took me some getting used to. But if I had my way, I would prefer a cross bolt type thumb safety. I think those are a little bit quicker to engage and disengage. Besides, the best safety you got is the one between your ears, so keep that in mind. We're approaching 700 rounds downrange with this rifle. Had zero misfeeds, malfunctions, no problems whatsoever. When I first got it brand new out the box, we did, put some lube on it as you're supposed to, get the good spots, and probably somewhere halfway down through the review, I probably hit it again with some lube. But I didn't really necessarily abuse the rifle, but I didn't take as good a care of it as I would if it was mine. This is a test sample from Rossi. And I'll be honest with you, this is my first experience with a Rossi rifle. I've shot some Rossi revolvers. They were fine, but this is my first experience with Rossi lever guns, or rifles in general, so I'm learning as you're learning. Now, through most of the review, we did run a can on it. This is the Liberty Suppressor Centurion. We also swapped that out for the Liberty Suppressors Infinity X. I've reviewed both of those cans. I'll put some links to those reviews in the written article on rangehot.com, along with the accuracy chart that we shot. For 38 special, man, it suppressed wonderful. A lot of fun to shoot. I'm gonna equate that to eating peanuts, man. Once you get started, it is hard to stop. 357 Magnum, it did suppress the report enough that you could comfortably shoot this without ears. I don't know that I would do it all day with the 357 Magnum, but with 38 specials, absolutely. Speaking of accuracy, with iron sights, we backed off at 100 yards, bagged the rifle, 3 shots. We're shooting 3.5, 4.5 inch groups at 100 yards, which I thought was fantastic. And that was with 38 special and 357 Magnum. Now, the only real deviation was the 38 specials grouped a little lower, as you would expect. But as far as group size, the rifle didn't really care. I imagine if you put some magnification on this rifle, you could probably dial that down a little bit. But with irons at 100 yards, I was perfectly happy with that. 700 rounds, hot double tap, a lot of 357 Magnum, a lot of 38 special. I know that's not a tremendous amount of ammunition, but I'll tell you this, I've got enough through it, especially with the hot double taps, to where if there was a flaw in this rifle, either in the design or this particular rifle, it would have shook out. I would have found it. And because there were no malfunctions or misfeeds, I feel like that's well done. Well done, Rossi. Fine rifle. If you don't like the 357 Magnum and you're digging this platform, Rossi makes a myriad of lever guns in different calibers. They also make this R92 Triple Black and 44 Magnum, if that's what you would prefer. I wanted the 357 Magnum because shooting 38s out of this, I've shot 38s out of lever guns before, and that's a lot of fun. However, this one gave me the ability to run a can, which really made things more gooder, which is gooder is better than best. Can I get a ruling, producer? Thumbs up. So anyway, let's get into what would you consider the rifle good for, Hunter? Well, for me, first and foremost, personally, fun. It is a hell of a lot of fun to shoot. And it's hard for me to express how much fun we have with this on camera. I would recommend buying one just to have fun with it. But certainly a lot more potential there, for hunting, hiking, trail carry, especially if you carry a sidearm chambered in 357 Magnum. It would make just good sense to have a long arm in that same caliber. With the increased barrel length, you're going to get an increase in velocity, which is certainly going to help with terminal ballistics, but as well as a lengthened sight picture. It's going to, help with get a little bit better aiming, a little more precise aiming with that longer sight picture. With the ability to suppress this at an optic, home defense, self-defense, absolutely. You're like, well, Hunter, you're going to want a light on it. There are provisions now to mount a light to this particular rifle, but there are also a lot of aftermarket forearms and stocks that will allow you to run M-lock, lights, caddies, carriers, all kind of stuff. So if you were looking to even more modernize this rifle, you certainly have that ability with ease. The aftermarket support on these Rossi R92s is amazing. I'm going to email Rossi, I got to let him know, hey, I'm done with the review, here's the link to it. But I'm going to ask him, say, hey, look, I really enjoyed this rifle. Would you mind, sending me an invoice? Because if they'll sell it to me, I'm going to buy it because I really did enjoy it. And I don't buy all my test guns, but this one certainly for me would be a keeper. And I'm starting to ramble. So anyway, if you have made it to the end of this video, bless your heart. I appreciate that. And again, please consider subscribing to Range Hot YouTube channel. If you felt like I went over something too fast or you're curious about some of the more technical details, remember, I'll link to the written article on rangehot.com so you can go over there and read that article. We'll have all the stuff we went over and a little more, so a little more in depth. Remember, these videos are just kind of hitting the highlights. And that's really about all I got. So take care of yourselves and each other. Look forward to seeing you at the range.